All right. Good afternoon, everybody. So this is the December 2023 Idea Share. And I'm Beth Golick from Key Ministry, and Catherine Boyle, our Director of Mental Health Ministry, is here. And I'm just like so delighted with who's on the screen today, because these are all old friends. So great to have you all here. Oh, good. Some more people are jumping on. So just as a reminder, this conversation is a conversation. This is not a webinar. This is not even really a roundtable. This is really just a time for us as ministry leaders to just kind of support each other, encourage each other, share what's going on. I think a lot of really awesome ideas have been generated through these idea shares over the last couple of years. And you know what, we've been doing these for over 2.5 years, so almost 3 years, which is pretty incredible. And I'm very excited to see Brian. It's been forever. Yay.
Yeah, I'm the youth pastor for a little while here, so
yeah, you've taken on new and different roles.
Yes, and usually Mondays at 9 a.m. Well, 9 a.m. here is time, but yeah, I'm excited to be here again.
Yeah. So I'll just open it up. Who wants to start? What's going on? What do you have to report? What are you working on? Who wants to go first?
Okay, I had a very specific question come to me last week from a church. So we don't do Night to Shine here at my church. We just don't. But so I don't have the experience of someone who's done it. But they asked me, how do you select buddies and for kids who are teenagers? Do you have guys and girls? Do you have guys and guys? How does that work? And how did the process come to be? So I said I didn't know, but I said, hey, I'll ask Beth and Al, and here they are.
So yeah, I can definitely share, but Al, do you want to go first? How that's been done at events that you've been part of?
Yeah, I've done it at Liquid Church a bunch of years and 2 other churches too, just to get some variety, things like that. So yeah, definitely the buddies or hosts or whatever you want to call them are a very important part of the success of an evening. They're the face for all the guests. Usually it's same sex, although not always. They try to, but there's more women than men that volunteer, I think, out here. So sometimes they have to match a woman with a man who's, I guess, there. It's from 15 until 90. So, it's not just young people that go. There's all ages that attend. And some have extreme medical conditions and things like that require more skill than others. So that's part of it. And sometimes, especially for first-time guests, you never know. And sometimes they're more challenging, and so they have to double up or switch or things like that. So you just have to be flexible. And you need good coaches for the buddies as well that are aware of what's happening and can make a switch on the fly as is necessary. So that's part of it as well. A lot of our buddies are that's their first time experience doing something with someone with a disability. So you try to give them someone easier if it's a first time than if it's someone who's done it a lot. Then they get the harder ones, usually the more challenging ones. So it's by feeling, and you kind of have to go with the flow as the evening goes. But it's generally a good experience for the buddies. Often they say it's their best night of the year too. So it's often positive, not just for the guests, but for the buddies that are there.
Yeah, thank you. And I'll share from, for those of you who have just joined us, the question is, how are buddy assignments made at a Night to Shine event? That's my role for the Night to Shine event that our church does in partnership with another church. I do the assignments. So we have, each year we max out at 200 guests. So that's, 200 plus buddies. So on the guest registration form, we do ask, would the guest prefer male, female? Is there a particular person they're requesting? And so we do our best to honor all of those requests. We take into, if we don't know, like if nothing's been requested, or even if something has been requested, if it's not a particular person, we take into account if they're like because the youngest guest, the youngest age is 14 actually. And so anybody that's teenager, like young teenager, through their 20s, like we try to match them up with similar age. So we're not putting like a 40-year-old, which, to me is still young, but whatever, 40-year-old man with like a young teen, like that just doesn't make sense. So that's kind of how we do it. It's not the easiest thing in the world. And Al gave a whole bunch of different scenarios of, plus there's a lot of unknowns because you don't always know the guests, nor do you know the volunteers. And of course, it's not going to be perfect. And I would say pray a lot during the process and invite others to pray into the process as well. But that's how we do it. So Bronwyn, do you have questions, like follow-up questions on that? Plus, does anybody else have anything to share about how they make their Night to Shine buddy assignments?
No, it's actually super helpful because as someone who, like, our church doesn't do it and I've not participated, but someone did come to me with a specific consult question. So I said, actually, I don't know. I'll go find people who do. And so it sounds like how it would be for any sort of disability inclusion,
like a
things.
respite event or whatever.
Yeah, like be flexible, and there's like tiers of need, and like try to match the volunteers with like the tier of need that they're able to like accommodate and support.
And to add a degree of difficulty, and I don't know if this is like this for everyone's event, but we have a sit-down dinner at ours. And so we're also assigning to tables. So you've got these people that want to sit together, but not with these people, so it's like planning a wedding and a respite event, like all at the same time. And let's see, there was something else I had to say about that. So something we learned last year that we'll be implementing for this year. So we rely very heavily on high school students from local high schools, which is awesome. They do a great job. And a lot of them are getting service hours for doing it. This year, we will be inviting the advisors from said high school groups to be present at the event. Because that gives, first of all, that gives the advisors a little more control over who they're approving service hours for. Because if the kids, for whatever reason, don't sign in, either they didn't come or they didn't sign in, it's hard for me after the fact to go back when the advisor asks me, did so-and-so serve? How long did they stay? Well, we had close to 400 volunteers, so I wasn't keeping track. Plus it gives, for maybe for some high schoolers who this is their first gig, it gives them some extra support. So that's something we're going to implement this year. Any other like Night to Shine buddy questions? I think this has been a good way to kick off the discussion. Sylvia, did you have your hand raised?
Yeah, I don't have a question. We used to do Night to Shine. We don't do Night to Shine anymore. We do a program called An Evening of Elegance. And even when we were doing Night to Shine, we used a program called Brushfire to register everybody. So that way we could keep track of who was coming in, who didn't, and what time they came in and everything. And in terms of, we weren't really assigning hosts to any particular grouping of people, but on our registration form, we would ask you know, there were certain things that we would ask, and we would make sure that we put it on the back of their badge so that whoever was hosting them would have identifying information about that individual that they were supporting. And if the parent or care provider was there, they, you know, were there to support. They were in the parent room, so that if there was any problems or any concerns about anything, the parent at least was right there to be able to respond and answer whatever questions and stuff. So that's, I mean, like I said, even though we're not doing buddy break, Night to Shine, now we are still hosting events where we do have opportunities for partnering and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same concept basically for any, yes, for anything like that. So those are some good tips. I like that. Would anybody else like to share some tips or ask questions about this type of event? And I did forget to say, you're absolutely welcome to put things in the chat. Thank you, Bronwyn, for kicking us off in the chat. Yes, Allison, hello.
Hi, sorry, I'm late to the party as always. I was just going to hop on very quickly about we host Night to Shine. So this is our age-old, yep, how you match everybody up and everything. So everything else that's all been said, yes, agree fervently. The only other thing I would say is that we this year have decided to let the guests decide their level of need, and we have like 3 categories, and then that's, like you say, matched to somebody who's independent. We'll have somebody volunteer who may be new, somebody who needs more specific help would be matched to somebody who's been to Night to Shine before, done respite nights, and then somebody who needs assistance with feeding, assistance with the bathroom would be matched to somebody who is either professional or medically trained. And we color coordinate them so that when they match up, the people that are signing them can just grab from the color group and a match accordingly. The only other thing that we have done is there is the 3rd category, which was initially small, and now this year I think over 100 guests, is the pre-matched, when they want to go with a cousin or an uncle or somebody. That the only little bit of advice I would give to that is just be wary. If you're doing that, often the volunteer arrives way later than the guest. So we're trying to put in a few contingency plans there, so the guest isn't waiting for an hour for Uncle Bob to get from home and get to where he needs to be, because I feel terrible for them, and they're sitting there waiting and they're super excited and the volunteer's still not there. So we're trying to work out having a buddy support team so they can sort of pick up guests like that, start off with them, and then we can coordinate matching them up.
So am I hearing, which I love those 3, the categories, and you have the guest like kind of self-advocate. I love that. But am I hearing that when a guest arrives, they don't have a pre-assigned buddy, but you can immediately pull from this team, like, okay, you're on the blue team.
Yeah. So
wow. Okay.
Yeah, the level of need for the guest would match the level of
interesting. That would make things a lot easier in so many ways. And
this is because it's our 10th year and we're trying to figure it out still.
Yeah, so this is our 5th year, but 2 years were virtual. So I mean, so picture 200, I actually wrote 200 on 200 slips of paper, like name cards, kind of laid them out on tables in a room. I mean, it took like 12 tables, and like tried to match, like, okay, these are all from the same group home. So these, you know, these 5 guests, and then their 5 buddies, there's a table of 10. And
well, we don't have that problem. Ours is a buffet style.
Okay.
And then they just sit where they can, where there's space, because I think I would give up by that point. I'd be like the party planner that throws in the towel and walks off. So we don't have that headache.
Okay.
We do also now have a group entrance, because we have 230 guests, and our group suddenly arriving was causing chaos in registration and
Mhm.
delaying everybody. So we have a separate group entrance, and that's where we can also put maybe an experienced buddy with maybe, especially if it's towards the end and we're looking a bit thin in the different categories, we can put a more experienced buddy with a younger one. I have to say, do be careful with your the people that assign the buddies, because we had somebody last year walk in and go, "Oh, you're too old. No, we need that person over there." And I think the
Maybe they
person
can phrase it
in
a
their
different
40s.
way, is what you're saying.
Exactly. But again, you know, then I had another lady who was so thankful to me that she had a buddy in her 40s, because she was like, "Don't put me with a young person." So
Mhm.
it's always a little hit and miss. So a lot of grace.
Yeah, well, that's yes. And
But the color coordination does help as regards to physically sitting people in the area so that when they're assigning, there's a handover. And we were going to go this year, so we have name tags. We were going to put, if there was additional information you might want about that person within the name tag for the guest, because we had little bookmarks last year of just sort of key information about the night. We're going to try and now put that in a lanyard to see whether that's helpful. I don't know. That would be what my question would be, if anybody has
like, how do you share the guest information in an honoring and discreet way? But
yes, so what we've decided to do with that's going to be oral as much as possible, but then with just some key information that's not, we're not challenging HIPAA or anything, but they can just have that within the lanyard that gets handed back at the end of the night, but it's available. We're still sort of tweaking that a little bit, but the other information was the general information for the night of where to go for this, where to go for that, because most of them, if they've been before, it's pretty similar. They'll be able to figure it out with the training, but there's always somebody that is new, missed the training, came late. So that's where we give this little bookmark, but again, we're going to make it so that they can put it in their lanyard, and the bookmark just reminds them, make sure they get the portrait, make sure they pick up the corsage and the boutonniere or the tiara and the crown, make sure they eat and etc., but then also make sure they pick up the goodie bag before they go home. So it's, yeah, you probably covered everything.
Yeah, that's good. And sorry for those of you who don't do Night to Shine, because those of us who do are like really really intrigued right now. I can tell you that at ours, because we do table assignments and they're sitting at a specific, table number 4, we have an envelope on the table that has the guest info sheets inside, and we assign somebody to that table to be like the table captain, and their job is to make sure the buddies read the info sheet for their particular guest and then return it, because we don't want those papers laying around, because it's nobody's business other than, the buddies. So, all right. Any other Night to Shine related? Yes, Allison.
Sorry, one quick question, because it came up today. We've always sent home the portraits in the frame, but that in itself is a very time-consuming activity, and we're looking at doing something. Apparently they do it on cruises. I've personally not been on a cruise, where they put the photos in like slots and you go and pick them up, and therefore they would just have the frame in their bag. Anybody else have an idea of how you get their portraits to them, and whether you match their name with them or whether you just pick them up?
First of all, I think we all need to go on a cruise and test it out.
I think so too. I'm up for that. Anyone else? Personally, Alaska appeals, but yeah.
So I know that so we've hired some like a photographer, like a photo booth type people before. So some just actually print it out right there. Some make it available, like as you get it taken, they'll ask for an email address or a number and they'll text it. When we've had a photographer that's done, like everybody's portrait, so there's like 200, we have, because we do have permission from all the guests to have their photos taken and displayed or whatever, we give guests the link to the album and they can download or whatever, whatever they want. So we are not handing out, photos and frames and all that. That's how we handle it.
Okay, I can give you an answer to this because I'm a photographer, but
That's right.
I don't do this kind of stuff. I do sports photography. The best thing to do, I know a lot of photographers want to do post-production, especially with portraits, because they clean up little minor blemishes, make their teeth white. What you could do is if somebody has a client, it's called like a client website. I have one where you guys used it when I was at the conference and you download it.
Yes.
You can also purchase from there. For me, I don't do that because I don't want to deal with the sales tax, but you could create a business card with a QR code to that gallery. And you just hand that out, and either depending on their disability, they can access it, or the caregiver or their parents. And that's like the easiest way for delivery. People can download it, take it to Walmart and print it. Sometimes people want a copyright thing because they're like, wow, this is professional. But that's how I deal with, like when I shoot sports or an event, I upload it there and they just download it. They take it wherever, they get the high resolution file. They can have a file that they can share on social media. So that is pretty much the easiest way you can deal with this. And you can find a QR, I use QR code, it's QR generator. If you're just doing minimum QR codes, you can do it like for free. If you're gonna generate a lot, we do a lot with my ministry. So we pay for the service, but that is probably gonna be your easiest way. Is like business cards are cheap to print it on there, put what it is, put the dent so they know. And then, but yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
I think we're doing too much because we do all of that and we print them out on the night. So now I can go to my coordinators and be like, hey, let's.
I mean, it's nice to leave with a thing in hand, but yeah. So in the chat, I'm just going to read for the sake of those who are watching the replay later. The suggestion, if you want to do the printing on site, you can organize using a hanging organizer with different slots with a guest name for each slot. Swim teams at swim meets distribute ribbons this way. And then, okay. Yeah, Allison, if Tony would like your email, okay, I'll let you guys figure that out. All right, anything else regarding Night to Shine or other such events? All right, what else is on your mind these days?
I wanted to hear more about the the key ministry thing in Florida.
Yeah, so the program committee has met and is in the process of doing final reviews. We had an incredible number of amazing applicants. Seriously, you're going to want to be there is all I'm saying. Okay. And so in the next week or so, everyone who applied will hear back from Key Ministry on the status of their application. We will be announcing our speaker lineup later in December, and registration will open up in kind of mid-January. If you're signed up, hopefully you're signed up to get the news. So we haven't sent out a little news blurb for maybe a week and a half, 2 weeks, but we'll keep doing that. There's an event that's happening at the very tail end of the conference. So the conference is going to be Wednesday, which you'll hear more about what Wednesday looks like. All day Thursday, all day Friday. And at the end of Friday, so this is May 1st through 3rd, so Friday evening, Nathaniel's Hope has invited all of the conference attendees to join them down at Lake Eola in Orlando, Lake Eola Park. And I see Al's nodding because he's been there for this before, but they are hosting Make 'em Smile on Saturday. So the day, May 4th, the day after the conference. Friday night, we're all invited for a behind the scenes look at setting up this incredible event. So this is a real kind of value added bonus that conference attendees are going to get. So Catherine put the link to sign up for DATC 2024 news updates. So those people, when you sign up for that, you're going to be the first to, see the speaker lineup, get access to registration, that type of thing. On our website right now, you can get information about sponsorship, about being an exhibitor. You can read all the announcements we've made so far on the conference. We're really excited. It's going to be a party. You're going to want to be there. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I've been there 3 times. It's quite an amazing event. It starts really early in the morning because it's hot early in Florida, and it's like a circumference of the lake. It's like a mile. So there's displays all the way around the lake, and if you have a ministry, it's a good opportunity to get a lot of word out to families with disabilities.
Yeah.
So you might want to reserve a booth there if you're trying to plug your different ministry there.
Yeah, and it's the 4th largest event in Orlando, which when you think about all the things that Orlando has going on every year, that's really something.
All right, what else is going on? Anybody doing any like special services or like for Christmas Eve or anything special for families impacted by disability this Christmas? Julie.
So we just had yesterday, what is today? Monday, Saturday, we just had the community event that we do every year for families impacted by disability in the surrounding Central Virginia area and beyond. And it's always such a precious time because they line up. We're talking about buddies and what you're doing with Night to Shine. We line up Liberty University students with the guests that come, and the parents can either drop the children off, children and adults off, or they can stay, and they still will get a buddy assigned to their family, so that if they want a little break, if they want to, kind of wander around with the family. And it's good for the Liberty students to have that experience because they're education majors. They're not necessarily special education. They're not necessarily anything to do with disability. They just get the opportunity to be with our wonderful friends. And we've heard the impact that has made on some of these students. It's been really good. And then they sign up for future. And that's always a good thing. So it's precious. We have a train ride. Yes, we have a train. And so the kids have a train ride. And there are inflatables that they get to jump around in. And there's always, for Christmas and Easter, there's always the gospel story. Mm-hmm. So that is something that is, it's kind of wild and crazy sometimes with telling the story, but it's there and it's awesome. And so, especially for those community families that may not be believers, and they're coming in, that's part of the morning. They rotate through the different rooms. There's 2 different gyms that have different things going on. One of those gyms has the story, and then there's breakfast with Santa. Mm-hmm. So they get the opportunity to do that. So here's a really cool thing about Saturday. Our Santa, the guy who's been the Santa for the last probably 3 years, had a very debilitating medical issue come up 3 months ago. In fact, he was out cold in his house alone for 10 hours and no one knew. So the fact that he lived was the miracle by itself, but he was in pretty bad shape for months. And his goal, I'm going to cry because it was so precious, but his goal was to get to be Santa this year. So, that was the carrot that was strung in front of him. Now, this is the guy, I've told you, some of you, about him before. When I was coordinator for pre-K 4-year-olds in our church, in our large church, he was one of our volunteers. And when I first met the guy, I didn't like him because he was very old school, toe the line, children, and be this person. And he's come so far from that person to, I have to be Santa for the disability community event. I have to be. And he could, he said, I'm not doing a lot, but I had to be here. And I sat and held his hand for a while, and Tom and I got pictures with Santa with him. It was just a precious, precious time because God has done a thing in his heart for disability. He had to be there. And I think it also helped him to heal faster and to really have that impetus to, you know, he lives alone, and, you know, maybe he wouldn't have had that little carrot hanging in front of him, and he may have given up. So, you know, God does something with our people, our friends, you know, he just does something. So I had to share that with you guys today, because, which is why I haven't done it yet, because I knew I was going to cry. But yeah, it was just a very, very precious time for everyone.
And that's just such a beautiful picture of, like, if we are not inviting others in to experience, you know, the privilege that we have of being, you know, part of this community, but the opportunity to serve, the opportunity, like, they're missing out. And our church is missing out if we're not inviting individuals with disabilities in, but inviting everybody in to experience community together. So that's really cool. Thank you for sharing. Who else has something?
Please, speaking, I go to a new church now. I go to Emmanuel Bible in Springfield, Virginia, and I go to a women's Bible study on Wednesday morning. So I'm talking to them tomorrow about 12 things, basically 12 things you can do with your friends struggling during the season, which is all, like, you have to adjust your expectations, because they're not gonna, you know, that's one of them. And just, you know, it's just, I'm actually blogging this, so I'll have it out like 12 days before Christmas. And it's just a lot of people want to know how to understand. And you're right, you have to invite people. Like, I'm right now doing logistics for a mission trip for an access camp in Germany. And my director was like, well, don't you want to bring people from America to do arts and crafts? I'm like, no, I need the local church to do that. Because that's like the fun stuff. So how am I going to introduce this to churches in Germany? I'm only there 2 to 3 weeks at a time. I need the local church to come in and do this. And what's the best way? Have them do the so-called fun stuff and be the buddies. And so they're, you know, you can't just bring Americans all the time, because I want to bring people that are highly experienced to help the parents with, you know, doing stuff, you know, beyond their therapy in school to help them get up to speed better, maybe, or whatever. And, you know, that's the thing, is in Germany, there's a problem. They don't have, it's not that disabled people can't come to church, it's just that they're not there. And why is that? So in March, I have a huge trip where I'm going with my German friend who was born in the Soviet area of Germany, and we're talking to a lot of churches. We're going to Hamburg, we're going to Berlin, we're going to, like, hey, did you think about this? You know, because, like, they have great services for disabilities. They don't have the community. I mean, they have amazing services. The community is kind of lacking. So that's why, hopefully,
I think you're very wise to figure out a way to have some of those fun factor events to invite the local churches in, because I mean, I'm looking around, and I know a lot of you do respite events and other, you know, like the kind of one-off, like, fun factor events. I mean, that's how people get hooked. I think. I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that's been your experience.
It's not so intimidating.
Right.
I'm just going to go have fun with this kid. They learn that these kids they have their problems, but they're fun to be around. And that's, I think, when I was just thinking about this, and he's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, I need to bring people that are PT and OTs. I don't want to bring someone to do arts and crafts. You know, I mean, maybe that's ignorant, I don't know, but I was just like, I need the local church to come in here.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And then, you know, and then relationships start to form and develop, and then, you know.
I mean, that's what I'm praying for, because the orphanage, the disabled orphanage that's there, they may go back in the spring to Ukraine. So that's kind of shut, but we have all these different families with, not just Ukrainian, but the German population have disabled kids.
Mhm.
This is something that could be impactful for their life. It also is a great outreach opportunity because they see the church is different.
Yeah.
There's, that's the other thing. I know in Kazakhstan, when I was still at McLean Bible, they sent a group there and they specifically asked for access ministry people because they were reaching people through helping them with their disabled loved one or child.
Mhm. Yep.
And it's such a powerful thing because they're the marginalized. And it's just, pay for this trip in March that we can find the right words to speak to these churches. They're more conservative. I don't want to say, hey, you're not doing something here. So my friend's helping me because she is German. So I'm German descent, but she understands how they think more than I do because they're the hardest people to witness to because you can't chit chat with them. But
I think disability ministry can be such an incredible way to connect the church and in like families and individuals with the gospel. And Catherine, I'm looking at you. I think, did Garrett Wall do a podcast episode on this kind of recently, like a couple episodes ago?
I'm pretty sure he
I
did.
think he did. Yeah. If you go to keyministry.org/podcast. So
yeah, I've been praying about it, and hopefully I will visit with the orphans before, because orphanages in Ukraine, people are just crazy. That's the only way I can explain how this works there. But yeah, when I was there, I'm like, I remember the story from Kazakhstan where they served this woman and she became a believer, and she's telling her whole neighborhood about Christ because this church served her because of her disabled child.
right.
They gave her goat also for some food. I was like, well, that's cool. But
Then she's witnessing to others.
she's witnessing to others because this pastor, whoever saw a need, reached out, and then they were like, it spread the gospel. And I'm like, that's beautiful outreach. And as I said, in Germany, they have great services. It's not so much the support end. They don't have respite care. Parents are kind of either loved ones help them, or there's nothing there, like Jill's house, which is down here in Virginia and other places. But if a church could offer that, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
And I don't think that's hard to do. It's just, I don't think they see the need, maybe. I don't know what it is. It's like a disconnect to me because their services are so amazing.
Yeah.
That's where it's like, what's going on?
Well, I love that this is your passion, Linda, and that you're doing it. So thank you for what you're doing.
Thank you.
I have a question.
Yes.
I know there out there resources like we do after our exercise classes, like a little Bible study with the kids. And I know out there are like readings or Bible readings for people with disability. Do you guys know what some of those are, and how can I get some? And then I have a funny story to tell when I'm done.
Okay, I'm looking at Ryan and Bronwyn. Do Johnny and Friends or Ability Ministry have anything that you would recommend? And I'm opening this to everybody, but I'm looking at these two.
Tony, what developmental level are you looking to hit there?
Let's see, we got people with Down syndrome that are a little lower in IQ, and I would say simple, keep it simple, short, and basic.
Like you're talking teens and young adults, right?
Yeah, teens and young adults, and different levels of comprehension. But I'm a big fan of our Daily Bread, which has been around forever, and I'm actually talking to the folks at Daily Bread about this. But something simpler, shorter, and something that we try to have some discussions, which sometimes work, and but something that would be appropriate, I guess. And
yeah, I was thinking for Ability Ministry, Ryan Wolf and Jason Morrison did a series, it's probably 2.5 years ago, called Be Strong. And I think that one was, it also had some good video, like accompany. That's probably one I would start with.
And I like that because after they work out, then they're.
Oh yeah, I didn't even think about
Like
that one,
that,
but yeah, it
yeah.
actually is like very work. They filmed it in like Jason's like CrossFit gym or something.
Yes, that'd be perfect for you, Tony.
But
Yeah,
I thought that,
Jason. I know Jason well.
yeah, so he they did that probably 2.5 years ago because I did one right after that. But yeah, I think that'd be a good place to start.
Was that just a one-time thing, or did they have like a whole?
I think it was 4 or 5 sessions, and then it has
Okay.
a leader guide. It has all the videos, and then it also has like some
Okay.
resources, like 1-pager resources that you could copy and amend and all that kind of stuff.
All right, cool, thanks.
Yeah, no
I think
problem.
Julie has her hand up, and then if anybody else, yeah, Julie.
Tony, I just want to let you know, this is not on the scale of what Ability Ministry does, but Amy wrote a devotional book, our Amy, and it is quick. So if there's a Bible verse, there's a prayer, and then there's something you do about it, and that a very simple something to do about it. So we could send you one of Amy's books, and you can take a look at it
Heck
and
yeah.
see if that might be something that would be good. And you know, it would speak to them because she has a disability, so that could
Sure.
be something that would reach them also. So we'll
That
get
would
your
be-
address, and then we'll mail that to you.
Okay,
Great.
that
Love it.
sounds really good.
Anybody else have any other resources to recommend? Okay, let's see. You've got Al, and then I think Linda. Go ahead, Al.
Sorry, not to that subject. It's a different subject. So
Oh, okay. Well, hold tight onto that for a second. Linda, did you have one on this subject? I think you're muted.
My cats are in here, so I'm muted. Can't say crazy. So I've been working with a administrator that works with women that are rescued off the red light district in Amsterdam, and I showed her this mental health journal I started to make. And we actually customized it to be a 30-day kind of like walk through being wonderfully made. So it's very basic. It's got some of the stuff about, keeping to a daily routine, but it's very biblically centered. Like I'm trying to find somebody to do, of course, this is going to be in Romanian, but I actually I'm doing it in English, but we're trying to find somebody to illustrate scripture verses so people can color that and then they can put it up on the wall. But that might be an idea because it is very simple, even though it's kind of like a mental health journal, but it's like, it helps people, even with other disabilities, regulate their moods, like people with autism. And my friend saw it. She's like, did you just come up with this? I said, well, people with mental health problems use this, but I wanted to make a biblical based one. And she's like, I love this. And at first we were going to make a year. And I'm like, that's just going to knock them. That's going to be way too much. So then we decided 30 days of just stuff. You're wonderfully made, your identity in Christ, because these girls are so hurt. And, I can send a PDF to them so they can look at it. But it is, we pick the verses and stuff like that. Now I'm just trying to find somebody to do illustrations. So
love that. Well, maybe somebody on here has an idea for an illustrator that can contact you, Linda.
yeah, I know.
Is there a way people can access that, or?
I can send it to you right now. It's kind of like in PDF form. It's very basic because it will be like a kind of like a spiral bound book because you'll write in it. And also I have to make it the other paper format once we get this, but right now it's like it's standard American. So, but I just don't have the illustrations for the verses yet.
Okay.
So
I love that. Thank you. Also in the chat, this is an idea. So someone's looking at Champions Club curriculum. And they also found a teacher who puts things together called the Adapted Way. That's in quotes, with some great ministry tools. So thank you for sharing that idea.
Champions Club, huh?
Champions Club. Yes, and we're familiar with that. They've been on some of the, some of our roundtables before. Anything else on that? Okay. All right, what else we got? Oh, wait, Al, you had something.
I got to visit another church in the area. It's called the Chapel. Ingrid Flannery's the disability coordinator there. And they've been doing Night to Shine and Buddy, respite and all that. But they had their first Disability Sunday about 3 weeks ago. And it's a church, 2,000 people, pretty good size. But they had Sib Charles of Johnny and Friends come and speak there. And afterwards, they had some exhibits in kind of a gym area, things like that. But it was just really good how they did it. And the whole church heard everything that Sunday. So I know our churches, sometimes they hear bits and pieces, and sometimes it's a really big thing like Night to Shine, but I'd never been part of a formal Disability Sunday like that. And it was really good. And just for those that aren't involved yet, but are helping sponsor things through their offerings, things like that, I think that helped put things together. And hopefully they'll be more involved at the chapel because of that Disability Sunday.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Cool.
All right, what else? My laptop battery is getting low, so
I got my story if you guys want to hear
okay,
it.
go ahead.
Very quick. Well, one of the things we do in our little, after we exercise, we get around in a circle and do a little Bible study. It's only, 5 minutes or so, and we get the kids and we pray. And we were saying, what are you guys thankful for? So we're going around and asking kids what they're thankful for. So before I go any further on that, I just want to say that our son, Jake, we have a exercise class on the east side in Bedford, Ohio on Monday nights, and he has a girlfriend there. And her name is Olivia, and she's a model, and they've been to the prom together. Okay, so then on Tuesday nights, we go to Christ Church near Strongsville, and he's got another girlfriend there, and her name is Leah, and they pal around together at exercise, and he helps them both, So we're going around this circle and saying, what are you thankful for? And we get to Jake and he goes, Lord, I want to thank you for my 2 girlfriends. And Leah's standing right next to him.
Oops.
Like, Jake. But I guess it just goes to show you the innocence and honesty. Yeah, a girlfriend on each side of town.
Okay, well, there you go. All right, we have a link that's been shared in the chat, and so we'll make sure to post this. We always post our recordings on our Vimeo and YouTube and on our website, and we will have this link on there, but that's for the adapted way. So Linktree, yeah. Anybody else? So we will not be having an idea share on January 1st, but we will be back on our regular first Monday of the month in February. And we will have a disability ministry video roundtable on the 3rd Wednesday of January, but not of December. So with that, I would like to say Merry Christmas to everybody.
Yeah, Merry Christmas.
And thank you all. We appreciate you so much, and really always look forward to this time together. So have a wonderful holiday, and
you too.
We'll see you in the new year, and we'll see you in Orlando in May.
Take care.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.